Let's get something clear at the start. Most nitrogen versus air debates ignore the single biggest factor in tire life and safety: consistent, correct pressure. Nitrogen can help slow the tiny inevitable pressure loss and cut moisture inside the tire, but it won't rescue sloppy maintenance or a nail in the tread. If the plan is to set and forget, nitrogen buys a small buffer. If the plan is to check pressures monthly, regular air will serve just as well. With that out of the way, let me explain what actually changes and what doesn't. Composition and purity. Regular air is already mostly nitrogen, about 4 parts out of 5, plus oxygen and a soup of trace gases and water vapor. Nitrogen service swaps that mix for high-purity dry nitrogen, which means far less moisture and almost no oxygen inside the tire. That dryness is the quiet advantage. Less internal water means fewer pressure swings from heat cycles and less chance of oxidation on steel belts and rims over long periods. It's not magic, but it's cleaner, and clean matters in harsh use or long storage. Bottom line, nitrogen isn't exotic. It's just drier, purer air with the oxygen largely removed. Pressure retention. Here's what matters on the road. Tires slowly lose pressure through permeation, the way gas molecules sneak through rubber over time. Oxygen migrates slightly faster than nitrogen, so a nitrogen-filled tire tends to lose pressure more slowly. The difference isn't dramatic, but it's real. Over months, nitrogen typically holds a bit steadier. That steadiness can keep a tire closer to its target PSI between checks, which helps ride, wear, and fuel economy stay on track a touch longer. Still, every tire leaks something over time. Regular checks aren't optional, regardless of what's inside. Temperature stability. If moisture is the sneaky variable, nitrogen's dryness is the counter. Water vapor expands and contracts aggressively with heat, which is why a pump full of wet air can mean jumpier pressures after a highway run or a cold snap. Dry nitrogen tames those swings. On a track day, a heavy tow, or long mountain descents, more predictable hot pressures make the car easier to set up and keep within spec. For commuting, the effect is modest. You'll feel the difference more with repeated heat cycles than on short errands. Think of nitrogen as shaving off volatility rather than transforming the tire. Tire wear and longevity. Uniform pressure means uniform contact patch, and that pays off in even tread wear. Nitrogen's edge is indirect. It helps keep pressure closer to target, which helps the tread wear square, which adds miles before replacement. Over a tire's life, the gain isn't massive if pressures are checked and corrected routinely with regular air. The bigger longevity bonus shows up in applications with heat, load, or long storage, delivery fleets, trailers, performance driving, where moisture reduction and pressure stability quietly protect the carcass and belts from stress and oxidation. For a typical daily driver, the benefit is there, but it's incremental. Fuel economy and handling. Tires at proper PSI roll easier and respond better. Nitrogen helps by reducing the time a tire spends underinflated between top-ups. That can yield a small, cumulative bump in fuel economy and a consistent steering feel over weeks instead of days. However, the moment both tires are at the same correct PSI, there's no magic handling edge from the gas itself. The advantage is time spent at target, not better grip or stiffer sidewalls. Keep pressures dialed in with air, and you'll get the same result on the road today. Nitrogen just stretches the window before you drift off target. Safety and reliability. Underinflation is a safety risk, full stop. It heats the tire, lengthens stopping distances, and invites sidewall damage. Nitrogen helps by slowing pressure loss and trimming thermal swings, especially when starting with dry, stable gas. That's why aircraft, race teams, and some heavy industry rely on it. It's predictable when conditions are demanding. For family cars, the safety difference comes from vigilance. Check pressures cold, use the placard PSI, and fix punctures promptly. If nitrogen keeps the dash light off a bit longer and encourages staying closer to spec, that's a quiet safety win, but it doesn't replace attention. Cost and convenience. Air wins the convenience game without breaking a sweat. It's available almost everywhere, often free or cheap, and quick to top up. Nitrogen costs more to fill and top off, and it's simply not as accessible at every corner. If a nitrogen shop isn't nearby, the plan falls apart fast. There's also the reality of mixing. Adding regular air to a nitrogen-filled tire is completely safe. It lowers the nitrogen percentage, and with it, the small advantages, but the tire won't care. If the trip requires a quick bump at a standard compressor, take it, then return to nitrogen later if desired. Use cases that benefit. This is where nitrogen earns its keep. High-load, high-heat scenarios respond best. Towing, commercial fleets, track days, heavy SUVs running long highway stints in hot climates, or vehicles that sit for weeks or months between trips. In those contexts, drier gas and slower permeation stabilize performance and protect components. It also makes sense for drivers who won't check pressures often, but want to minimize drift. If that's the reality, nitrogen buys time. If routine maintenance is easy and frequent, those gains shrink. Everyday driving reality. For most cars, schools runs, and office commutes, here's the practical truth. Set pressures to the door jamb spec when tires are cold. Check them monthly and before long trips. Use good valve caps, replace aging stems, and fix slow leaks instead of topping them off forever. Do those things with regular air, and the results will match what nitrogen promises in theory. Do those things with nitrogen, and the ride will be a touch more consistent over longer intervals. The gap is not night and day, it's maintenance versus maintenance light. Myth-busting and misconceptions. A few quick clarifications. Nitrogen doesn't make a tire puncture-proof or blowout-proof. It doesn't deliver better grip at the same PSI. It doesn't prevent pressure changes with temperature. It reduces moisture-driven swings, which is not the same as eliminating the gas laws. It doesn't turn bad tires good, and it doesn't require purity obsession for normal cars. If the only option is a dash of air, use it. Better a correct PSI with mixed gas than a low PSI chasing purity. Maintenance and practical tips. Choose a reference. A reliable, accurate gauge and a routine first weekend of the month works well. Measure pressures cold before the day's driving. Adjust to the vehicle placard, not the sidewall max. If going to the track or towing, set hot or cold pressures according to the specific use and recheck after the first heat cycle. If filling with air, pick a station with a drier compressor when possible. If the nozzle spits water, move on. If filling with nitrogen, ask for a proper purge and refill to raise the nitrogen percentage rather than a quick splash. Environmental angle. Underinflated tires waste fuel and wear out faster, which means more rubber scrapped and more fuel burned. The greenest choice is the one that keeps PSI correct the most days of the year. Nitrogen can help by slowing the drift, but the bigger win is the habit of checking pressures and addressing leaks. If that habit exists, air is already environmentally sound. If it doesn't, nitrogen can soften the penalty. Bottom line, nitrogen offers a modest, real advantage in pressure stability and moisture reduction, which matters most under heat, load, long storage, or lax maintenance. Regular air is ubiquitous, cheap, and entirely effective when pressures are checked and corrected. If convenience points to air and the routine is solid, there's nothing to fix. If a bit more stability and fewer top-ups are appealing, or the vehicle works hard, nitrogen is a sensible upgrade. Either way, correct PSI is the real performance part.